Well, welcome to Walter Park for the second time this week if you're a aficionado of the live streams here in Queensland, and it's National Premier League's Queensland action for you tonight as Moreton Bay United host Brisbane Strikers. Both teams suffered disappointment in midweek in the FFA Cup, and they'll be looking to put that right this evening. Of course, not a lot of this or any of this could be possible without our sponsors. Moreton Bay United, they're proudly sponsored by Electron Vehicles, Australia's first dedicated electric vehicles company, and Golf Globe, the professionals in golf equipment, repairs and coaching. Brisbane Strikers, they'd like to thank their sponsors, Mecca Bar and Gorilla Sports, for getting them onto the field each and every week. It's been a couple of pretty disappointing weeks for Brisbane Strikers. They've lost their last two in the league. On top of that, being defeated by Football Queensland Premier League side Peninsula Power in the FFA Cup on Tuesday night. 3-0 the score there, a thoroughly disappointing evening for David Large's side. They'll be hoping to bounce back immediately here against Moreton Bay United, who did suffer a 3-2 defeat of their own in the FFA Cup on Wednesday night, of course in front of the Football Queensland cameras. That game went to extra time, 120 hard-fought minutes of football, and you do wonder what effect that'll have on the home side tonight. Let's run you quickly through the teams. Not many changes from Moreton Bay United. In fact, there's only 2 changes to the squad. Riley Stent, he comes in and to the bench to replace Sam Long. And the other late change is Brenton Fox. This is a big one. Out after suffering a toe injury on Wednesday night. He's replaced by Sekou Jamandi, who will be playing his first game in the senior side since mid-April. So the team for Moreton Bay: in goal, number 21, Bez Arioyi; number 4, Matt Byrne; number 6, Sam Dickinson; number 8, Matt Capello; number 9, Riley Campbell; number 14, Alex Janowski; 15, Chomarop; 17, Darren Thompson; 18, Ben Harris; 19, Lachlan Stroggers. He comes into the team in replace of Brenton Fox; and number 23, Reece Gwynn Jones. Sekou Jamandi takes his place on the bench alongside number 2, Nick Bernardi; number 3, Jake Mitchell; and number 1, Riley Stent. Number 24, Declan Smith, also making up the numbers on the bench. David Large's Brisbane Strikers side, well, they've made a couple of changes of their own from last week, both enforced. Brock Messenger, he's suspended after picking up his 5th yellow card. Michael Angus, he'll be out for 4 weeks with a hamstring injury. Did not play on Tuesday, Michael Angus. You'd have to say the Strikers missed that one. It's like referee Casey Rybelt is about ready to get us underway. She's going to be assisted on the flanks by Misuk Park, who's here on Tuesday, and Nathaniel McDonald. It's the Strikers in the silver shirts. Reece Meredith, wearing the number 9 jersey, will be the one who gets us underway when referee Rebelt is ready. I think we've just had a little bit of a issue with one of the nets over on the far side of the field. Misuk Park is just being assisted by Bez Ariaye in the Moreton Bay goal, but everything seems to be okay now. Moreton Bay have won their last 5 in the league. Strikers have lost their last 2. Who will come out on top this evening? Final adjustments. And eventually, we're underway. Strikers kicking from left to right. Taking the ball up with Michael Lee, and here's Jake McLean. Strong challenge over on that far side by Dickinson. No foul given. And now a bit of a chase for Greg Hensley, who encourages Nathan Archbold to come out and claim the ball. Strikers need a good start here, you feel. Haven't scored in their last 3 games in all competitions and conceded 5 goals in that time. There'll be a bit of a challenge going on here for Jack Stevens in the number 3 shirt. He comes into the starting lineup, and he'll have a bit of a test on this near side if that's where he stays. Looks like he'll take up a position in the middle of the field. The former Wolves player, played 13 times for Wolves in the Viva Capital League 1 last season. It's strikers who win an early attacking throw-in. Sam Knight will trot over to take, as Hensley in support. Bit of a look to go towards the interior, and Rhys Meredith. No, instead it is Greg Hensley, who has a very heavy touch and then still claims the throw-in off Lachlan Stroggers, who came off the bench and looked lively in coming off the bench against Olympic on Wednesday night. Michael Lee just battling a little bit with Stroggers there and does win out. Janowski towards Chomarop, who pulls up a little bit lame after that challenge with Hiroki Omori. That'll concern Puri Anabi. He seems to have recovered fairly well. He'll have to do his defensive duties as Michael Lee just nips in there ahead of Matt Capello. Here's Omori. Nice touch from McLean. Here's McLean again. Lovely ball through to Maltby. Made the angle tight for himself, but wins a corner. It's a good start from the strikers. If you've just joined us from our previous game of the Football Queensland Premier League, thanks very much to Ray for that. You'd have just seen Logan Lightning beat Rochdale Rovers by a 1-0 to move into second spot on the ladder. Big win that for Logan ahead of their massive FFA Cup tie on Tuesday night. They take on Brisbane City at Cornubia Park. The corner is swung in, disappointingly, by Lee, but it was Janowski at the near post who went safety first, and Lee will have another attempt to get this ball into a more dangerous position. Brisbane City currently trailing South West Queensland Thunder by a 1-0 up on the Darling Downs. We'll keep an eye on the results around the grounds. That was a better corner. It's gone back to Hensley at the back post. He sweeps it in. It's gone right up in the air from Arai. Moreton Bay do conspire to clear the ball, but Hiroki Omori on the opposite side to what he's used to gets in there and wins it back, but then Lee turns possession over again, and will we have a bit of a chase on here for Chomarop against Michael McGowan? He was missing last week, and his absence played a key role in both Brisbane strikers' recent defeats. He was sent off against the Pride. Speaking to some of the strikers' supporters, here's an opportunity for Maltby. Byrne did well. Maltby was appealing for something, perhaps a stray arm involved in there, but I'd have to say it was good defence by Byrne at first look. Speaking to some of the strikers' supporters and staff, the decision to send McGowan off last week was, or 2 weeks ago, sorry, was questionable at best. Maltby runs on to another one, but this time Ben Harris is there to use his body to get in the way of the striker's speedster. And he is a speedster, and he's been backing up his speed with plenty of goals. 5 this season for Zach Maltby. 2 against the Thunder, 1 against City, 1 against Olympic, and then 1 up in Mackay against the Magpies, who have won 2-0 against Sunshine Coast up at Kawana earlier today in the early game. That's still in, and Knight is bundled off the ball by Stroggers. Bit of time for Capello to pick an option. Janowski to Harris. Harris with the cross, and that was a disappointing end to that one. Archbold will be relieved because Riley Campbell was waiting. Strikers will build once again from the back through durable Scot Greg Hensley. Aimed towards Rhys Meredith, who's scoreless in his last 6 matches. He's only come on as a substitute in 5 of them in his defence, but nevertheless it's a return that won't please Rhys Meredith. He's a fine striker of the ball, scored 25 in 30 games for strikers. So when you take into account the fact he hasn't scored in 6, this gives you an impression as to just how many goals he has scored in the normally blue and yellow. Of course, in the silver tonight, as Chomarop bounces around in the yellow jersey. Here's Harris. It's going to fall for Harris. No, Rhys Meredith doing his defensive duty there. Excellent work from the striker. He's performing very, very well in his defensive duties. Here's Chomarop. Squaring up Stevens. He's forced back, though. Thompson does very well. You heard the cry there from the striker's bench. But Meredith was free. Here he is. Just allowed the ball to get away from him, and Byrne nearly nipped in, but it's back with strikers and they retain possession. Hensley threads the needle. And Knight goes back to Greg Hensley. Here's Stevens. McGowan back to Hensley. Moreton Bay defending in numbers. Hensley will take it up. Here's Knight. Zach Maltby started to make a run, but he only looked half interested in it. And then Hensley plays that one straight out. No chance for Sam Knight to keep that in. As you see Puri Anabi just encouraging his side to get themselves into the game a little bit early. Do so with this throw-in that Ben Harris will take. It pretty quickly to Capello. Capello goes all the way back to Byrne. Two sides in the National Premier League's Queensland history have had fairly even results here at Walter Park in matches between the two sides. Played 6, Strikers have won 3, Moreton Bay have won 2. With 1 draw. Been 4 draws in National Premier League Queensland history between the two sides. 1-1 all, 1-4 all, 1-3 all, apologies, and then a couple of 2-alls. Byrne thinks that he was caught late by Rhys Meredith. Casey Rybelt, referee, sponsored by Total Tools, allows play to continue. And it'll be played out from the back by Michael McGowan. And here's Hensley. Sammy Knight. Zach Maltby. Rhys Meredith runs on ahead and drifts offside, so Maltby delays his pass and concedes a throw-in to boot. Good work from Lachlan Stroggers to get his foot in there. Capello with the throw. Strong by Dickinson. And Stroggers is doing well, but he's dispossessed by Lee. Lee tried to thread the needle through to Rhys Meredith there, but it was intercepted brilliantly by Thompson. And then Thompson goes back to Rhys Gwyn Jones, a former Strikers junior player, no less, before moving across to Moreton Bay United to play his youth football. And then Campbell goes down with some flourish, and Casey Rybelt thinks that Sam Knight deserves a little bit of a talking to for that. Just a word, just a talking to for now. But a promising position. For Moreton Bay United. It's not too far from here, but Brenton Fox managed to score his first goal in the FFA Cup tie on Wednesday night, but as we mentioned in the pre-game, he is out with a toe injury, general toe soreness after what was a very tough battle against Olympic midweek. Thompson decides to chip towards the back post, and Matt Byrne, who wins a corner off the head of Lee. Promising position for Moreton Bay United, and they'll send their big men forward, even further forward than they were for the free kick. Chomarop taking up a position fairly close to Nathan Archbold. Yeah, plenty of jostling. Majority of players just lining up on the outside of the area. Just Alex Junovsky standing just inside the penalty spot. He's being blocked off by McGowan. Cross comes in! It was Junovsky who got his head to the ball, but apologies, it wasn't Junovsky, it was Ben Harris who just nipped in at the front, coming from deep. Couldn't direct his header towards goal though, and Nathan Archibald will take the goal kick. Get things started once again for the Brisbane Strikers. Tough collision between Meredith and Thompson there, but it's worked out for Strikers. Here's Knight looking for an option. Tried to find Meredith, but it was Capello who managed to get there. Now Lee becomes available and is allowed to turn inside. McGowan wide to Hiroki Omori, who has plenty of space despite Chomarop closing him down. Patient build-up from Strikers at the back. Now Moreton Bay beginning to close. And backing off once more. Defence will play a key role in this game. Moreton Bay have some work to do in that respect. They've conceded 26 goals, which is the most of any team in the top 6. Brisbane City have conceded their 26th. Up in Toowoomba. Nevertheless, it's not a record that they'll be wanting to continue as they approach finals football. That's a lovely ball through to Clulo. Clulo with a shot! Brilliant save by Bez Ariay. Did fantastically well to get down to his left and deflect that ball wide. Lovely ball by Maltby into Clulo. And Clulo was staring down the barrel of his 8th goal of the season there. But for a fantastic save from the Iranian. Strikers go short. Lee left-footed towards Hensley at the back post. Good header from Hensley. It was McLean who got the shot away. Good work from Jack Stevens. You heard the cry from the bench. Strikers moving the ball well on the edge of the area, and then that is a foul on Zach Maltby. This is a very dangerous position for the home side to be able to defend, and take your pick as to who fancies this one. Michael Leon and Jake McLean both showing an interest early, although McLean has wandered away, and it's going to be left, is it, for Hiroki Omori. Yet to score this season, has 8 for Brisbane Strikers in 53 appearances, 17 and the 7. Having a discussion amongst themselves. Keep your eye on Trent Clulo just on this near side. Then Reece Meredith will be following in, and it's Lee over the top. Couldn't get it up and down over the wall. It was very close to the edge of the penalty area. Situations like that, you do wonder whether being a little bit tricky and playing a ball across. You mentioned Clulo was just capable of perhaps drifting off his marker on this near side of the field, but it wasn't the option that Brisbane Strikers and Michael Lee decided to go for, and it is Lee who is still waiting for his 7th goal of the season for Strikers. His Stroggers wanted to go for Chomarop, but Chomarop had come inside instead of taking a line wide, so had to delay his pass and did incredibly well to do so and retain possession for Strikers. For Moreton Bay, sorry. Ben Harris has a lot of space. Delivers that ball in. Junovsky was arriving, but it's the cool, calm head of Greg Hensley who delivered that ball out. Moreton Bay United retain possession, though. Hiroki Omori doing just enough in the face of some extreme pressure from Riley Campbell. Here's Reece Meredith, good touch, and gets in behind. That's a very sloppy tackle, but no foul is given. Tell you what, that's an interesting decision from Katie Rybuck. She was obviously a lot closer than we were, but looked like Reese Meredith did get caught. And that was certainly the impression given from the Brisbane Strikers supporters over on that far side on the clubhouse here at Walter Park, which you won't fail to notice is slightly less populated than it was on Wednesday night. This game should be no less entertaining than that extra time thriller that we experienced in the FFA Cup. Olympic running out 3-2 winners despite 2 goals from Brenton Fox, who is out today with a toe injury. In behind, flag goes up. Clulo, you'd have thought, was the man who is being penalised, and perhaps if he had left it for Sam Knight, that would have been play on, but never mind. Misuk Park made the call. No doubt Lee fancied himself with that shot from the free kick. He scored both of Strikers' goals in the 2-2 draw that the two sides shared back in round 3 at Perry Park. Stevens playing a bit of head tennis there with Alex Janowski, but Moreton Bay come up with the ball. Capello forced all the way back to Stroggers. It's a nice touch by Reese Gwynne-Jones. Bit of a slip, but it's going to work out for Ben Harris here. He has a bit of space. Is he going to... Wasn't really a shot or a cross. Perhaps if he'd had a go, Nathan Archbold might have had to make a decision as to where he was going to be, but instead he thought about playing the ball across towards Riley Campbell, and you'd have to say it was probably a wrong option. Got caught in 2 minds, perhaps. Campbell's an interesting figure for Moreton Bay United. He scored 17 goals last season for Moreton Bay as they made their way through to the grand final, but really dropped off in the second half of the season. It was a tale of 2 halves of the season in so many ways, 2017, what with Western Pride's miraculous comeback from, what was it, 9th on the table at the halfway mark. Sam Knight plays in Clulo, but it was a good tackle by Stroggers that denied Clulo a chance to run in behind. Strikers retain possession. The saying, Riley Campbell scored 12 goals between rounds 1 and 11 for the Jets, but then in the remaining games only scored 5. And he hasn't managed to back up his impressive start to the season this year either. He's just got 1 goal, came against South West Queensland Thunder. And he'll be looking to get back on the score sheet as soon as possible. Although, having said that, Moreton Bay United have been going fairly well without his goals. In 3rd spot, just 1 point behind the Pride. They lost to him that dramatic grand final at Briggs Road last year. Will they be returning to the grand final? Certainly going well at the moment. Knight slides that ball into Maltby. Good opportunity here for the Strikers. Can he pick out an option? Reese Meredith, was there a hint of a hand? No, says referee Rybelt. Stroggers is left to clear the ball away and has to get it out to safety initially. Good work from the Moreton Bay left back, but was there a handball by Reese Meredith? 2 sets of eyes were looking at it and had a good option to see. Oh, it's almost fooled there for Strikers. Meredith desperate to be laid the ball off, but instead Trent Clulo doesn't find him and doesn't use him, and that's another chance wasted perhaps for the Brisbane Strikers. Capello lets out a cry of anguish. Here's Reese Meredith again. Flag is up on this near side. Looked like he was perhaps just a yard the wrong side of the Moreton Bay defence. Reese Meredith, who, as we mentioned before, is looking to re-find the goal-scoring talent that brought him within a couple of goals of the Golden Boot in 2016 before his season in 2018 was cruelly curtailed with that knee injury. She is still coming back from, really. He's trying to regain full fitness. Right, we'll go back to Archbold, and Archbold opts to go clear, and Reese Meredith will jump. No, sorry, it's Zach Maltby who jumps highest, and chases back. Good work. Tricks coming out from Capello. Here's Capello again, linking up well with Harris and Janowski, but now all the way back to Thompson, and he goes wide over to that far side. It was played in behind Chomarop. Disappointing end to that move from Moreton Bay United. A bit too frantic, perhaps. Need to show a little bit more composure on the ball, because this strikers side will enjoy plenty of possession. It's one of the hallmarks of how they play, despite arguably being quite down on confidence over the last couple of weeks. Good win here will do wonders for their season. It's the head of Zach Maltby. It was always drifting wide, though. Good cross over on that far side. It's been an impressive start from Brisbane strikers. Largely controlled the majority of this first half, but we are still goalless here at Walter Park. Chomarop with the flick on. Here's an opportunity for Campbell. Here is an opportunity for Campbell. Decision to be made here by Casey Rybelt. Decision has to be made. And it's a disappointing decision for Brisbane strikers. Decisions need to be made by David Large now. Campbell is still down. He slid in quite recklessly, Nathan Archbold. And he has been sent off for the second time in 3 weeks for the Brisbane strikers in the league. They'll have to see the rest of this one out with 10 men. They'll have to be sent. They'll have to deal with a man down for 3/4 of this match. That's a desperate blow for David Large and the Brisbane strikers. Still getting a little bit of attention on Riley Campbell. He went down fairly heavily. He was fairly clearly clattered into. It was a lovely ball through. We're dealing with this injury and seeing how David Large shuffles his pack to deal with the change. We'll just remind you that tomorrow afternoon, Darren Lusson will bring you all the action from the National Premier League's women's. It's Gold Coast United take on Lions at Station Reserve in Robina. 5 o'clock kickoff for that one. So don't miss out on that. It should be a really good game. Two teams going pretty well, and Lions are going very, very well at the moment. So they'll be looking to consolidate their place in the top 4. You can hear Michael McGowan opting for an attacking approach, perhaps, saying there's no point in waiting for something to happen. They're going to have to go out and make it happen themselves, and it's a brave decision. We'll have to see how things change. Don't forget to follow Football Queensland on social media. As we see Tomislav Merisic, the 18-year-old, coming onto the field. And it's Jake McLean who comes off. And he's got a heavily strapped left hamstring, Jake McLean. You wonder whether that might have been perhaps as much as a precautionary measure as anything. He's just walking down to our left now as Alex Janowski lines this free kick up. He's scored 6 goals already this season. Scored 5 in the last 5 games in the league, Janowski, so he's in fine form. What a body blow this will be. Well, Tomislav Merisic, his first job be to pick the ball out of his net. Let's Waiting for Casey Rybart to be happy with the wall. There's 4 men in it. Keep your eye on Chomarop, who's just drifting in behind that wall now. He's being shadowed by a striker's defender. Yanovsky has been patient. Campbell is back on the field. Chomarop comes in, good save. Comfortable save in the end by Tomislav Merisic. And how will the teenager cope with the pressure of a fair amount of work, you'd have to say. It's the second game in succession in the National Premier League Queensland that Moreton Bay United have had the benefit of a man advantage for long periods. This one even longer than last week at Corporate Travel Management Stadium, where Brisbane City had Tom Alton sent off in the 42nd minute of the match. Funnily enough, it didn't really help Moreton Bay United being a man up against City. The game was 1-0 at the time and ended up being 2-1, so it was a draw from Brisbane City against the 11 men of Moreton Bay United. But you'd have to say they've had plenty of practice in getting involved with an extra man of late. And Brisbane strikers, and the same could be said of them, they've had to play the majority of the game at Briggs Road a couple of weeks ago with 10 men. How will they have adapted to that? By all accounts, they were the better team in that match as well. Perhaps going a man up isn't all it's cracked up to be here in the National Premier League Queensland. Although, of course, the overriding stat would be that both teams that did lose a man ended up losing the game. Advantage firmly in the home side's camp as things stand. Here's a chase for Lachlan Stroggers against Sam Knight. And Sam Knight does well. He'll have to shadow Lachlan Stroggers fairly carefully. And Ben Harris has got in behind, and he was squared up a little bit by Greg Hensley. Moreton Bay retain possession and go back. You'd have to say that they'll be hoping to enjoy the lion's share of possession from this point on. Crossed in for Campbell, and he allows that to skid off his foot, and a cry of anguish you heard was his. A disappointing end to that move for Moreton Bay United, but you'd have to say the home side, all they need to be is patient. The effects of midweek football on the strikers' defence start to become all the more apparent, although, as we have mentioned already, there's 120 minutes that Moreton Bay United played with a day's less rest. Fascinating how things are going to turn out now. Campbell appeals for the throw-in. It was an ambitious call. I'll have to get the snickometer out to check whether there was a slight touch from Sam Knight, but Casey Rybart goes with the balance of averages and decides it was a striker's throw, and Moreton Bay will build from the back regardless through Bez Ariae. Hensley lets out a cry of anguish this time as his lack of control allows Campbell to pick up possession, and he links up with Stroggers. There's another opportunity for Moreton Bay United. Nice ball in by Dickinson towards Stroggers. Now Chomarop with the cross. A little bit directionless there. From the Sudanese right-sided attacker for Moreton Bay United. And here's Rhys Meredith. Lee, too casual from Lee. It's cut out by Thompson. And here's Stroggers playing a free role, it almost looks like at the moment. He's popping up all over the park. And he's made Sam Dickinson run all over the park to get that one. Here's Chomarop. Gwyn Jones. Byrne. Harris was wide. It was intended for him, but it went via Capello. Here's Stroggers. Stroggers has a bit of space to turn and move on the inside. Yanovsky back to Capello. That's a terrible pass from Capello. He saw what he was trying to do. But that's a big pressure release pass for the Brisbane Strikers. And Hiroki Omori will gladly take the throw in. A good 30 yards further down the field than Capello was when he passed it. However, if Strikers are going to turn over the ball, it's going to be a very long evening, if not, wasn't going to be already. But here's Lee. Meredith. Meredith to Omori. Flag stays down. Cross by Omori. Lee's waiting at the back post. Lots of composure shown there, but Knight gets there ahead of Stroggers. Here's Lee again. Meredith pops up with the ball once more. Greg Hensley in an advanced position. Here's Knight. Flag is up on this near side. It's a good attacking spell, though, from Brisbane Strikers. It shows how dangerous they can be and how dangerous they will be, despite being a man down. Still a long way to go in this one. Goalless as it stands. Moreton Bay United 0, Brisbane Strikers 0. Here's Harris hoping to change all that. Good pass deep to Campbell. Takes a deflection. Kept in though by substitute goalkeeper Tomislav Maricic. It's worth just reminding people that if you've just joined us, Brisbane Strikers are playing with 10 men after Nathan Archbold was sent off for bringing down Riley Campbell. He clattered him pretty hard. Campbell was down for a fair period of time. Katie Rebelt didn't take long in making her decision. Stroggers gets his head to that one ahead of Sam Knight, but fortunately for Strikers, it falls to the hands of Maricic. Jake McLean was sacrificed for Messerich to come onto the field. He did look like he was carrying a little bit of an injury anyway. His left hamstring heavily strapped. Strikers hoping to get it played in here. Harris goes to deck under pressure from Knight. It's a good run from Knight. I did rather go through the back of Thompson, but no matter. Here's Capello. Janowski. Capello once more turns back this way to play in Harris. Harris has a bit of space on this near side and plays in Lachlan Stroggers, who has a lot of space on this near side. Capello wanted it played on the inside of the box, but instead it's back to Janowski, and here's Thompson. Campbell. It's big Greg Hensley in the way, and then the big man shows some nice footwork to take the ball away from Chom Arab. And Strikers win a relieving foul over on that far side. It was tricky Japanese man Hiroki Omori who goes down under the challenge. And the problems mount for Brisbane Strikers. Brock Messenger, he's suspended, so he'll be back next week. Michael Angus, if you missed our pre-game, he's out for close to a month. Might only be 3 more weeks after this weekend, but it's not good news for Brisbane Strikers, who face a potentially tough trip to Toowoomba to take on the Thunder in 2 weeks' time. Then a trip to take on their former coach Sean Lane and Gold Coast United down in Robina for welcoming Cairns. Bringing some other scores around the grounds as things stand. The Thunder are 2-1 up against Brisbane City, up on the Darling Downs. It's 5 minutes or so to go up there at Clive Berghofer Stadium. Lee does well to Knight does well to keep that ball inside. Here's Clulo, and here's Lee. Is it going to fall back to Clulo? No, it's not, and good defence by Gwyn Jones. He got his body in the way. And now Moreton Bay will look to counter-attack. Cries of handball. Chomarop was offside by a fair way. And that's why he made no attempts at trying to get the ball. Poor touch from Meredith, and that was not nice from Rhys Meredith. He gave a little bit of a knee. It's only a yellow card. Good job perhaps that he didn't kick out then strikers would have been in all sorts of trouble, but a bit of frustration creeping in for Rhys Meredith. That's his third yellow card of the season. Run you quickly through some of the other scores around the ground. Redlands United, who are, of course, in 13th spot in relegation zone. They are 1-0 up down in Robina against Gold Coast. Important goal that could be for Redlands United. And the big game, the other big game taking place right now in the Football National Premier League's Queensland. Lions are locked at 0-0 with the league leaders Olympic. Here's Stroggers. Hensley got a touch. It's up there though for Campbell to challenge. It's still there for Campbell. Hooked clear though by Stevens. Moreton Bay will build again. Touch from Stroggers. As Harris on the outside opts to go himself. Possibly wasn't the right option. Fizzed past the post. He struck it well. The direction was all wrong from the former Raw QAS youth player. Couldn't add to his 2 goals this season. Scored against Redlands United and Magpies Crusaders. Dickinson climbed all over the back of Maltby. Free kick is given though to Moreton Bay United. Moreton Bay 0, Brisbane Strikers 0. Brisbane Strikers playing with 10 men after Nathan Archbold was sent off. Free kick for Brisbane Strikers, blown up by Casey Rybelt. Byrne did just enough there on Rhys Meredith to win possession, and Moreton Bay will take it up with Darren Thompson. Another long ball by Thompson for Chomarop to chase. Amori plays that one pretty quickly and almost played Michael McGowan into a little bit of trouble, but McGowan goes on a bit of a run, the former Port Melbourne player. Played down in Victoria last season. And now we're up the other end instantly on this relatively small pitch at Walter Park. Hiroki Amori and Lee can't get that ball under control, and Moreton Bay will come again. Lachlan Stroggers. Sam Knight wisely chooses not to commit, but Stroggers back wide to Chomarop. Wants it back, does Lachlan Stroggers, and Chomarop does well to muscle past Greg Hensley. You don't often say that. Chipped in towards Capello on the edge of the area, forced backwards to Thompson. Here's Harris. And that was a poor ball, easily cut out before it got to Janowski by the impressive Jack Stevens. Meredith with a flick to Amori. Amori can't squeeze that ball through towards Maltby. Moreton Bay come again. Amori making up for his mistake, but he's dispossessed by Dickinson. Dickinson does well. Races to the byline, gets a cross in. It's cut out by McGowan. Amori with the touch. He's challenged by Dickinson, still managed to squeeze a ball away. Meredith takes it on the chest, and then Meredith concedes a free kick. Meredith just shows what he thinks about that. The display of frustration, a little bit of dissent perhaps. Michael Lee having a bit of a discussion now with referee Casey Rybelt, just querying a couple of calls. It's another opportunity for Moreton Bay United to deliver the ball into the box. Cut out by the second man, Trent Clulo. Poor free kick. And then excellent work from Rhys Meredith to claim the ball there. He takes it down. Could have perhaps played in Michael Lee, but chose instead to go back to Sam Knight. Lee has the ball now, though. But now Sam Knight caught a little bit out of position against Campbell, and Campbell tries to play in Chomarot, but wrong idea. Right idea, rather, wrong execution. Strikers come again. Maltby to Clulo. Meredith's the only Strikers player in the box. It's a poor cross over everybody's head. Gives Sam Dickinson plenty of time to pick possession up and choose his spot. The run was from Capello, and that's where the ball's aimed. Had to wait for it a little bit. Jack Stevens doing everything he can and does incredibly well, the youngster, to hold off Matt Capello, and Strikers will build once more from the back. Hensley. Just a reminder to follow Football Queensland on Instagram. It's @FootballQLD on Instagram and Twitter. Get involved in our stories and vote on who you think is going to win the match. We're in injury time in the Darling Downs. South West Queensland Thunder leading Brisbane City by 2-1. Redlands hanging on to that lead in first half injury time against Gold Coast United. Still 0-0 at Lions Stadium between Lions and Olympic. And earlier, Magpies Crusaders beat Sunshine Coast by 2-0. Knight. Nice footwork from Clulo, and he battles to win this ball back. Here's Maltby and Knight. Knight with a ambitious cross over towards Hiroki Omori. Now Clulo again. Omori still in possession. Omori with the snapshot. And it hit the inside, the outside netting. The wrong side from a striker's perspective of Bez Aria's post. And another good opportunity for the 10 men of Brisbane Strikers. Just a couple of minutes to go before half-time. David Large will have to measure his response to his players. He was very unhappy with how they performed last week. Barely contain his rage after the final whistle. Here's an opportunity for Maltby, but he can't get the ball under control. Then another little slip from Sam Knight in his eagerness to try and cut that ball out. He's going to have to track the run of Capello as Moreton Bay play the ball wide to Chom Arup. Here's Janowski. Lovely flick to Chomarop, who has a bit of space. He finds Capello. Hensley tracked the run eventually. Capello gets a cross in, aimed towards Chomarop, but it was cut out. And here's Hiroki Omori, tricksying his way into some space. Has to go back to McGowan and put him under a bit of pressure with a firm pass. McGowan gets the ball up. Surely that was a push in the back on Rhys Meredith by Matt Byrne, but nothing doing, says referee Casey Rybelt. Just a minute or so to go before half-time. Moreton Bay 0, Brisbane Strikers 0. It's been 4 draws between the two sides in the National Premier Leagues. Only one of them at Walter Park. Two sides shared a 2-2 draw earlier this season, back in round 3. Hiroki Omori just got a little bit of a tangle over there on that far side with Alex Janowski. I'm not quite sure what Omori was trying to do. He was playing for the quick free kick when there were none of his teammates even in a position to take the ball quickly. And he clattered into Janowski just to perhaps let him know that he's there. But this is a dangerous opportunity for Strikers. It's aimed towards McGowan. He got ahead to it, the big defender, but it's hooked clear. Right onto the head of Dickinson, who can just head it back upwards. And Jack Stevens is the sole Strikers player, apart from his keeper Messerich, in his defensive half. He's joined now by Hensley and Hiroki Omori and Sam Knight on this near side, but plays the ball forward to Zach Maltby. Here's Omori. ball's played out. Disappointing way for that move to end from Hiroki Omori. Playing his 54th game for Brisbane Strikers. That's half time. A dramatic first half here at Walter Park. Moreton Bay United have the man advantage after Nathan Archbold was sent off for clattering into Riley Campbell on the edge of the area. That happened in the 23rd minute. So a lot of time for Brisbane Strikers to play with a man down. Jake McLean was the man who was sacrificed for Strikers, an attacking player, allowing Tomislav Mesaric to come on, the teenage goalkeeper for Brisbane Strikers. However, it's still been fairly even since the midway point of that first half when the dynamic of the match shifted. It's 0-0 here. Don't go too far away. Got plenty of action to come, and you'd have to say there's going to be plenty of action in this game as both sides look to bounce back from disappointing FFA Cup defeats in midweek. Fascinating match coming up after these short messages here from Walter Park.
Hey guys, Andy here from Football Queensland.
Good morning, I'm Kerry.
Good morning guys, it's Andy and Kerry here from Football Queensland.
Morning.
And good morning guys, Andy and Kerry here from Football Queensland. We hope you're all well. Kerry and I are so excited about the up and coming World Cup that's coming up very, very shortly.
We're starting our road trip today, heading to Bundaberg to deliver 3 football clinics to 5 to 9-year-olds, and we're heading all around the state where we'll finish up in Atherton.
Guys, there is still a chance to register if you want to come along. We look forward to the clinics and having fun. You can go to our website www.footballqueensland.com.au/road trip if you'd still like to register for those ones.
Look forward to meeting you guys.
Have fun, see you soon.
Bye.
Welcome back to Walter Park, where the home side are out on the field already, ready and waiting to get the second half underway, and they have every reason to, after surveying the prospect of having another 45 minutes against the 10 men of Brisbane strikers who had Nathan Archbold sent off in the 23rd minute of the game. Strikers do eventually make their way down onto the field and back out onto the field. Dave Large just jogging across the field now. Striker's a little bit late. He'll be delivering his instructions. They have the support here of possibly the majority of the fans here at Walter Park. They do face the prospect of an entire half down to 10 men. And Moreton Bay will be thankful for that after they played 120 minutes midweek. We're just dealing with some slight sound issues here. We'll hopefully be bringing you all the action very shortly. Casey Rybout gets us underway in the second half, and it is Moreton Bay United who start poorly. Very disappointing start from Matt Capello, playing the ball a long way behind Chommer. The Sudanese player just had to sort of look in bewildered disbelief at the ball. The simple pass played in behind him, but here's another opportunity perhaps for the hosts in their yellow jerseys, kicking from left to right as you see it. Although that was Sam Dickinson who let that ball go pretty quickly. Here's Hiroki Omori. Nice interplay there between he and Trent Clulo. Omori given a chance to run. Tried to squeeze the ball across to Rhys Meredith and then followed it up himself, but was unable to get much of a play on it, and Moreton Bay will build from the back just about, as it's kept in over on that far side. Bezarié launched that through towards Chommer, but then it was headed thunderously back the way it came by Michael McGowan. That was a strong challenge from the centre-back. Poor pass and use of language by Gwyn Jones. We'll ignore that though, as strikers continue to play the ball forward by Maltby, but it's run off him. Strikers are actually starting to look at each other a little bit. They are a man down. They need to be a little bit more economical, you'd have thought, with the amount of effort they're putting in. Clulo, it was, who sent his reproachful look Zach Maltby's way, and then Hiroki Omori did well to cut that ball out and then gave it away sloppily. He's done that a couple of times here at Walter Park in this game, and I have to say, you'll need to cut that out if strikers are to get something from this game. Long ball aimed towards Campbell. It was he who was challenged and fouled by Archbold, which led to the sending off, and he's just got in a little bit there. Got a foot to Jack Stevens. Fortunately for him, Michael McGowan was there to play the ball back. McGowan again leaping with Chommer, who's kind of frustrated figure, but he's back involved now as Junovsky plays it behind him to Dickinson. It's looped in, and strikers will be allowed to break through Clulo. Lovely ball by Clulo and lovely touch by Rhys Meredith. Meredith squares up Gwyn Jones. Has support in Lee. Lee, he scored 2 in the first game between the two sides, but clattered Ben Harris in the back of the head with his shot. And now up the other end, here's Chommer. Does he have support? It's late arriving from Riley Campbell. It's a goal kick. Excellent defensive work there by Michael McGowan. End-to-end stuff here at Walter Park. Exciting football in the National Premier League's Queensland. Young Tomislav Mesaric. Brisbane Strikers substitute keeper. Mori. Lee. Chomarop is chasing, as was Capello. Lee does well to squeeze that ball forward, but it was well read by Gwyn Jones, and now needing to play between the Moreton Bay pair of Janovsky and Thompson. Here's Harris. Back to Byrne. Gwyn Jones. The former Strikers junior, Reece Gwyn Jones. He goes wide to Byrne. Janovsky drops back to start pulling the strings and drive his team forward. Thompson. Chomarop made a run. Capello then made a secondary run, and it was he who the balls landed on his chest, but was unable to get it away from himself. Yeah, keep it within touching distance, and Tomislav Mesaric picked it up comfortably. Reece Gwyn Jones up against Reece Meredith there. Gwyn Jones came out on top, but now Hiroki Mori is caught out of position, and Campbell loops that ball forwards towards Chomarop, but it was a poor pass. Chomarop was being shadowed fairly closely by Greg Hensley. Meredith just can't quite control that ball, and it was to Thompson's benefit. Byrne. Reece Jones wants it on this near side. Picks it up, he's up against Maltby. Works it through him, and Gwyn Jones has continued his run. It was a good one. Good cross, dangerous cross in. Flicked clear by Greg Hensley. Still there for Moreton Bay United though. Here's Dickinson. Capello, that's not great from Matt Capello. Johannesburg-born Moreton Bay stalwart. He's played, this is his 120th game in the National Premier Leagues for Moreton Bay United. Scored 11 goals in that time. If he keeps hitting them like that, he won't get too many more. It's a horribly misjudged effort. So Rich plays it to the only side of the field without a silver shirt. It was mopped up by Dickinson. Don't allow that to get away from him, but able to recover and play it to Lachlan Stroggers. Now Janovsky on this near side. Back inside to Dickinson. Dickinson with the cross. Straight up in the air by McGowan. It's still there. Still there for Chomarop. 2-0. One-0, sorry. Counted for send-off as a goal, never mind. 1-0 Moreton Bay United. And Chomarop gets the breakthrough. That's 3 games in a row that he's scored in the league against Brisbane Roar and Brisbane City in previous weeks. It's his 10th goal of the season, the 22-year-old from Sudan, and the former Albany Creek Excelsior goal scorer, picks himself up off the turf and scores his side's first goal of the game. Apologies for that error. And the task has got all the more difficult for Brisbane Strikers, who've lost their last 2 games in the league by a 1-0. And of course lost midweek by 3-0. A humbling experience against the Football Queensland Premier League side, Peninsula Power. John Rock holds the ball up well. Here's Capello. And Campbell. Campbell under pressure from Stevens. Stevens does very well eventually there. Shadowed his man all the way down the line. And then made a telling tackle when it needed to be made. Good work from the youngster who's playing really in place of Brock Messenger and Michael Angus, who are both out injured. Sorry, Messenger's out, suspended. Here's Meredith up the other end. Can he equalise for Brisbane Strikers? He cuts back inside, gets a shot away. Was always watched by Bez Arai, the Iranian player. Has a fascinating story. Got involved with Thomas Broich after fleeing Iran. He's facing religious persecution. He had stints on Christmas Island and Nauru after playing in the Persian Gulf Pro League back in his native Iran. The 33-year-old was moved to Darwin for the birth of his son, and then Thomas Broich helped him find his club here in Albany Creek and played 35 times for Albany Creek Excelsior, the sister club here at Walter Park. It's worked out very well for all parties as he now takes the gloves. His 16th game for Moreton Bay United in the National Premier League's Queensland. Some nice footwork from Strogers on this near touchline. Lays it off to Capello, who's put under pressure by Amori. Nice little flick from Capello, and he wins a corner. He's done incredibly well there. And it'll be Darren Thompson who trots over to take this corner kick. Another former Albany Creek Excelsior player, played 50 games for the sister club here at Moreton Bay United. Oh, he's still bouncing around there, and Mazarich had to come and claim, and did so with great confidence from the youngster. In place of Nathan Archbold, who was sent off midway through the first half. Jake McLean being sacrificed for the young goalkeeper to come on and take his position between the sticks. Strikers trail now by a Chom Arop goal to nil. Lovely touch from Hiroki Mori up against Capello, and then he twists and turns and deceives Capello, but then it was played back by Clulo. A bit too far for Amori, and Amori had to backtrack to get it, and Moreton Bay end up with the ball. Here's Gwyn Jones. Janowski wants it. Asked far too much of Reece Gwyn Jones, and Moreton Bay sloppily give the ball away. Strikers are still dangerous despite being down to 10 men. Maltby. And Maltby forces Dickinson into a safety first approach, and it'll be a throw-in which Maltby takes to Lee. Lee wants an option. Amori makes a run. He was shadowed by Chomorop, so instead Meredith is the target. Knight was there. Janowski's header finds Lee. Lee tried to swing that ball into Reece Meredith on the edge of the area, but he was unable to do so, and Moreton Bay break. Here's Campbell. Campbell does well to retain possession in the face of some stern pressure from McGowan. And then Janowski is holding on to that ball under pressure from Clulo, and Strikers take this quickly. Good decision from Rebelch. He was unsighted by both Capello and Clulo's body. Total Tools referee. Assisted on each flank by Misuk Park and Nathaniel McDonald, we haven't mentioned much. It's McDonald, who you can see in your picture now over on that far side. There's Bez Ariai. Is ready to take this goal kick. They have won their last 5. They're unbeaten in 7 in the league. Apart from that FFA Cup defeat, they've been going very, very well of late, and that's reflected in their league position. 3rd spot, just a point behind Western Pride, who are in 2nd. Meredith. Meredith can't get that ball into the area. It was well cut out over on that far side of the field. Janowski goes down quite theatrically, and then comes up equally theatrically for a bit of a stare down of Jack Stevens. Jack Stevens doesn't take no for an answer. Run you through some other scores around the grounds. Gold Coast United trail Redlands United by 3-1 in the 62nd minute down there in Robina. It's still goalless between Lions and Olympic. Western Pride v North Queensland. That's just kicked off out at Briggs Road. The score 0-0 there. Earlier on, Magpies Crusaders beat Sunshine Coast at Kawana by 2-0, and then South West Queensland Thunder beat Brisbane City by 2-1 in Toowoomba. Stevens was under pressure from Chomarop, and now Hiroki Omori is under plenty more pressure from Capello. We go back to Meserich. It goes long towards Maltby, but it's cut out fairly comfortably by Dickinson, and Dickinson launches his own counter-attack now. Riley Campbell was there, and it was well claimed by Meserich. Claims the ball well after his perhaps error in getting the ball straight to his opponent. Omori crabs across field. Here's Clulo. A little bit of theatrics going on there between the striker support staff and Reece Gwynne-Jones. Dickinson eventually takes the throw in, and then Janowski heads it straight out under pressure from Reece Meredith. 10 men of Brisbane strikers piling the pressure on Moreton Bay United. It's a poor pass by McGowan, and now Moreton Bay look to turn defence into attack. Capello. Nice touch from Capello. But then his pass can't quite squeeze Chom Arop in, and strikers retain possession. Nice fancy footwork from Lee on this near side underneath our commentary position, but Thompson does enough, and here's an opportunity for Campbell. Campbell shadowed by Hensley. Back to Janowski. Here's Capello on the near side. Cuts it back to Janowski. Janowski to the edge of the area and Stroggers. Stroggers takes it to the byline. Back wide to Capello. Janowski, Stroggers. Stroggers encouraged to go back to that byline, but there's 3 strikers players there creating a blind alley, and the combination of Hiroki Omori and Greg Hensley, with Jack Stevens lending his ample frame for support. They conspire to steal the ball from Moreton Bay and now launch an attack themselves. More end-to-end football here at Walter Park. Here's Reece Meredith. Endured a frustrating afternoon thus far. Still Meredith. He's just bundled off the ball though. And Capello forced to cut back with Lee coming close. And Gwynne-Jones will take it up. Janowski. Gwynne-Jones, and now to Dickinson, who's allowed to run. Played it behind Riley Campbell. And then Zach Maltby put the afterburners on and failed to stop in time. Here's Campbell for Moreton Bay United. Lachlan Stroggers. Nice pass to Harris. Harris drifting one towards the back post where Chomarop was unable to jump. Against the smallest player on the field, Hiroki Omori. Ball went a little bit too far from him anyway, and Reece Meredith wins possession inside his own defensive half, and then Gwynne-Jones goes to deck, no foul. Here's Lee. Lee has Maltby ahead of him, and now Maltby is challenged, and challenged fairly by Darren Thompson, who was back in defence, and Maltby just Swings a glance towards his own bench. Almost looked like Capello was going to be played in there. And Hensley had a bit of a chase on his hands, but Mesarich came out to the edge of his area to claim, and the ball just sort of tailed away. Strikers build from the back. I think Maltby took an age to get back to his feet, but he does do so now and has a bit of space on this near side, but Moreton Bay defence has been alerted to the threat, and Lee now takes up possession and runs into a bit of space himself. Here's Hiroki Amori. Clulo wants support, finds it in the unlikely source of Greg Hensley in an advanced position. Scored his first and only goal of the season in front of the Football Queensland cameras. Did Greg Hensley up in Mackay. Hiroki Amori. Lee. Return ball from Amori. Onside. Good cross from Amori. It's just taken off the head of Sam Knight and Rhys Meredith. That's brilliant work over on that far side by Maltby. Maltby with the cross. Can only find Matt Byrne. And Moreton Bay United, against the 10 men of strikers, are hanging on a little bit here. Clulo swings that ball over towards Greg Hensley. Chommer up, chasing across the strikers' backline that are playing deep inside their attacking half. McGowan, the strikers. Nice ball over the top and in behind for Zach Maltby to chase. Maltby gets there. And Maltby skins past one. That's the wrong option, a very badly wrong option from Trent Clulo. He's comfortably mopped up at the back. It was Campbell back there doing the defensive work. He may as well stay back there because here comes strikers through Sam Knight and linking up Rhys Meredith, teasing cross towards the back post. Maltby got there, but it was Stroggers who got the final touch. Might see a substitution. Braden Steele coming on, the strikers junior. Scored 6 goals in 13 games for strikers youth side. But he's not going to come on yet. We're just going to see how Rhys Meredith goes for strikers bench. Hiroki Amori looking for a bit of instruction from the bench, I think. He finds Lee. There's a fair bit of space from Clulo to operate in. Clulo will get to the byline and deliver a cross. Oh, it was fumbled. Flags up. Goal kick. That's Bez Ariayi. And we now will have the substitution. I think Zach Maltby thought he was going to be replaced, but instead it is Rhys Meredith who makes way. The goal drought continues for the former Golden Boot runner-up. Still on the comeback trail, of course. Rhys Meredith won't want to rush his knee. But Braden Steele comes on. Just as he did in the National Premier League's Grand Final against Heidelberg last season. Moreton Bay coughed the ball up again over on that far side. Ball's aimed towards Maltby, who's going to have to do a little bit more work now after hoping he would get a slight breather after their midweek exertions. Moreton Bay are going to start shuffling the pack as well. We're going to see the substitution, Nick Bernardi, who was an unused substitute on Wednesday. He scored a goal against strikers in that 2-2 draw back in round 2. And Matt Capello, who got through a lot of work in that 3-2 defeat after extra time on Wednesday night, is the man who will be withdrawn. Bernardi, who played 79 games for Mitchelton in the Flight Centre Brisbane Premier League after a spell in Samford back in 2013, Samford Rangers. He scored 3 goals in 20 appearances. Strikers free kick over on that far side. McGowan belatedly gets up there and chooses to go back. There's tall timber in there though, and one of those tall men was Braden Steele, who's just come on, of course. Going to see another substitution, and it might be Tana Entrop. Will be making his senior debut for Strikers if he does come on. Handball by Braden Steele. Attempting to control that ball. Looked lively so far. The next substitution will be Tana Entrop. Strikers junior, 17 years old. It's a huge promotion. David Large said he was very nervous. We'll use words to that effect before the game. He's a big lump of a lad. Very athletic looking and could cause some problems for this Moreton Bay defence, who will be feeling it in their legs. You have to remember they played 120 minutes against Olympic on Wednesday. As this game goes into its latter stages, they will be suffering. As you can see, they're not committing many men forward. Janowski, who was the furthest man forward in that occasion, belatedly joined by Chom Arup. And a foul comes in. A bit of a push between Riley Campbell by Zach Maltby, and that's going to be the last thing that Zach Maltby does. And on comes Tana Entrop. As you can see, he's a big striker, fit-looking young man. That's all 3 of David Large's substitutes that have been made. Well, McGowan had perhaps mishit that, but it found its way through to Trent Clulo. That was the intended target as well. The Strikers cough up possession, and here come Moreton Bay United through Darren Thompson. He has a lot of space to run into. Chomarup's going to make a run. Instead he goes wide to Campbell. Campbell with the shot, side netting. He's always drifting wide. He got plenty on it. Bit of tit for tat in the substitution stakes. Declan Smith's going to come on, the Moreton Bay United junior. He scored 3 and 3 for the under-20s this year. Came on late in that FFA Cup clash. And he is going to replace Riley Campbell, who went down. His goalless run continues. Only scored 1 goal in 15 games this year. Riley Campbell. That's after netting 17 last season. We already mentioned that 12 of those came in the first half of the season, just 5 after that halfway mark. Puri Nabi does have a substitution up his sleeve. Here's a shot that comes in. It was by Trent Clulo. You saw just before Tana Entrop getting his head to the ball, and Entrop did well, and that's what he'll be looking to do. Knock these headers down to the advantage of Braden Steele and Trent Clulo, and perhaps even Hiroki Omori if he can get up into those forward positions as he so often does. As will Sam Knight. Janowski manoeuvred himself into that position over on the halfway line in front of the clubhouse, and it was he who got the header. Stevens to Lee. Steele, substitute. That's nice, that's nasty. Clear yellow card has to be given, surely, and is by Casey Rebelt, Total Tools referee, and it looks like may have injured himself in committing that offence. Tana Entrop has gone to the outside of the box. Nick Bernardi with the yellow card for those keeping track at home. It's his third of the season, apologies. Only just come on. That's one way to introduce yourself. Tana Entrop has been told by striker's bench to make a nuisance of himself and attack this ball, and he's giving himself a fair run up here. Hensley's also on the edge of the area, as is Steele. It never got there. Cut out by the first defender. Stevens, though, will opt to get this ball in. Could have perhaps come this side where Hiroki Omori has acres of space. Had to handball by Lachlan Stroggers over on that far side. And another opportunity to perhaps deliver a dangerous free kick. They choose to go short, though, do the strikers with Clulo. Over the top, it's still there for Knight. Knight has been squeezed out of it, and Declan Smith makes a nuisance of himself in a defensive position. And Trent Clulo concedes the foul. Looked like he went through the back, perhaps. Casey Reebok gave a shrill blast of her whistle just to clear up any potential confusion over that. And Moreton Bay have that pressure relieving free kick. They're being pegged back, Moreton Bay United. Had a couple of opportunities. This is exactly what happened last week at Corporate Travel Management Stadium. They were a man up and a goal up against Brisbane City, but really struggled to impose themselves with that extra man. That's out. Declan Smith can't keep it in, and it'll be a throw in front of a Moreton Bay dugout, taken by Hiroki Omori. To Lee. Entrop, back to Hiroki Omori. Omori twisting and turning. Trent Clulo, plenty of encouragement for Tana Entrop. From the striker's bench down to our left. Trail Moreton Bay United by a 1-0. Here's Lee looking for an option. Entrop provides that option. Now it's Entrop who wants some support. Can Omori make a run? Omori just creates a little bit of space for him. That's nice from Tana Entrop, 17-year-old. Big promotion for him. He's been predominantly playing in the under-18s. Here's Lee. Gets in behind the Moreton Bay defence. The yellow shirts swarm in numbers. Almost squeezed through to Steele, but it was Declan Smith. It was Gwyn Jones who was there to get his big body in the way, and some nice attacking play from Moreton Bay, from Brisbane strikers again against Moreton Bay United, who have had a man advantage since the 23rd minute when Nathan Archibald was sent off for fouling Riley Campbell on the edge of the box. McGowan read that well, but so did Janowski. Thompson is forced back to Harris. And Stroggers has got a chase in his hands here, and he was never going to make it. Moreton Bay haven't had much opportunity with the ball, and when they have in this second half, they've given it away cheaply, by and large. "15 minutes remaining in this one. How much will that 120 minutes that Moreton Bay United played on Wednesday night start to come into effect in these closing stages? Porianabi has one substitute up his sleeve remaining. Sekou Jamandi, who has been named on the bench after a 6-week absence. Some nice looking ball to the substitute Smith. Concern. Still there for Smith. Thompson tried to squeeze a shot away, but that's out, was it? Ball is not out. Controversy here. Steele to Tana Entrop, who was offside. Flag is up over on that far side. Casey Reebok hasn't worked it out yet. Then Lee just lashed one just over the bar for good measure. And Tana Entrop did look offside. Having said that, the ball did look out when Braden Steele controlled it just underneath our camera position. I'm getting nods from our production staff here from Double Take, and in a slightly better position than I am to see that, so I'll take their word for it. Bit of a let-off for Moreton Bay United in the end, and the officiating team, sponsored by Total Tools, of course. Can Omori keep this in? He's quick, he does very, very well. But not quite enough to keep it in. You can see what Tomislav Mesaric thought of that. Teenage goalkeeper for Brisbane Strikers. Don't mind us, we're just throwing stuff off our commentary scaffold here at Walter Park. Moreton Bay United could go into second spot on the ladder tonight with this win if results stay the same. Corner swept in by Thompson. Oh, it was there at the back post. What a let-off that is for Strikers. Matt Byrne it was who had the opportunity. Perhaps that's why you're playing defence. Should have done better there. Running through some other scores from around the grounds. Gold Coast United trail Redlands United by 4-1 down in Robina. That's a big result at the bottom of the table for Redlands. Especially as North Queensland are trailing Western Pride by 2-0, and Magpies Crusaders beat Sunshine Coast 2-0 earlier today up in Kawana as Tana Entrop battles away there, wins a throw-in. Lions are leading the league leaders Olympic by 1-0. Just 20 minutes remaining in that one at Lions Stadium at Richlands. Talk about big results. That'll be a very big result. And can you believe it? It's the new boy, Merrick Madel, who's got that goal. A signing midweek for Lions. Massive result for both teams concerned here. Junovski has to play the ball forward to Stroggers, and Stroggers puts it in behind Declan Smith. Mopped up by Lee, and now McGowan, who launches it forward towards Tana Entrop. Never got there. Has another go. Not much pace up front now for the Strikers, and who's that forward? Bit of a rough throw from Bez Ariei, allowed Wyn Jones to run onto it though. Strikers get possession straight back though. Here's Trent Clulo. He wants an option. Goes wide to Greg Hensley. Hensley's going to be chased down by Smith. Not many people make Greg Hensley look small, but Declan Smith falls into that category. Cross is swung in. Corner for Brisbane Strikers. Can they get a goal back here? Bit of support coming in from that far side of the field. Jack Stevens just getting a little bit of water down to our left. Corner is drifted in low to Lee. Knight. Back wide. That's a better delivery. It's off the head of Byrne though. And Moreton Bay will clear now. The only player in the Strikers' defensive half is Jack Stevens, other than Tomislav Mesaric, and he'll pump it straight back into his attacking half. Steele. Back to Stevens. Stevens didn't quite get that one forward enough for Hiroki Mori, but Mori goes back to Steele. Mori drops back in support. Chomarup working hard. Here's Lee. Lee forced back. Good defence from Moreton Bay United. They're defending well from the front, particularly through Bernardi and Chomarup. Zarup now chasing down McGowan. And McGowan is forced to go all the way down to Mesaric. Amori has a lot of space on this near side. A lot of space on this near side. And he's been ignored. There's two players on this near side for Brisbane Strikers, Lee and Hiroki Amori, and you get a aimlessly pumped forward ball like that. It leads to frustration, and you could see that frustration in Michael Lee. That ball go out. No, says Misuk Park. Michael McGowan takes the ball forward. Plays it through to Lee. Lee has Knight outside him, uses him. Now it's forced all the way back to Meseric. Amori has so much space on this near side. Will Jack Stevens use him? He's looking everywhere but towards Hiroki Amori and then plays the ball in behind him. Amori does well to adjust. Now delivers a brilliant cross in towards Entrop. Still there for Steele, is it? It's covered by Lachlan Strogers. Strikers retain possession. Lee to Hensley in an advanced position. Great touch from Hensley. Ball's out before he could get the cross away. And the chance goes begging for the Brisbane Strikers. 6 minutes or so remaining, plus whatever stoppage time referee Casey Rybelt can find. Let us know what you thought of this match. Get in touch on social media at FootballQLD on Instagram and Twitter. And of course, let us know in the comments here on Facebook. Entrop bundled out of that somewhat by the tall, towering, imposing figure of Rhys Gwynne-Jones. Entrop chases down the Moreton Bay keeper, Desiree, and forces him to go long. And then it goes straight back to Meseric, who goes long himself, but not perhaps long enough. Here's Thompson, opens up a little bit for Thompson, plays it to Smith. Smith, is he going to try and fashion a shot? Goes back to Thompson. Thompson has Dickinson on the outside. Dickinson delivers across back towards where Declan Smith was waiting. And a handball is given right on the edge of the area. You can perhaps see what Michael McGowan thinks about Casey Rybelt's decision. It did look like Janowski had a whole fistful of Brisbane striker in his possession. Rybelt did not see that. And instead, it's going to be Darren Thompson who has an opportunity perhaps to deliver a free kick goalwards from this dangerous position. We saw Michael Lee hit one over the bar from a similar position in the first half for Strikers. Judging by the position of Thompson that he's taken up, I imagine this one's going to be all power. We are going to see a return for Sekou Jamandi in place of Lachlan Strogers, who's worked hard but rather drifted out of the game in this second half. Jamandi makes his first appearance since mid-April. Darren Thompson is going to put everything and the kitchen sink behind this, you'd feel. Instead, he side foots it a fair way over the bar. And that's a disappointing way to end that one. Looked for all money that he was going to just put his laces through it, Darren Thompson, but decided against it. Entrop jumps, but without success. McGowan gets the ball, but took perhaps a little piece of Declan Smith with it, and he receives a yellow card. It's his third of the season. Again, thanks for keeping count at home. Declan Smith just holding on to the back of his head there. Foot was high from McGowan. Looked like he got the ball and then Smith sort of nodded his head towards it, but free kick is the decision from Casey Rybelt, an opportunity for Thompson to make amends for that earlier effort. Choma up. Hiroki Amori muscles Choma up out of that one. Excellent defence from the Strikers left back. Moreton Bay still have possession though. Janowski goes down under the challenge of the big 17-year-old debutant, Tana Entrop. Janowski knew exactly what he was doing. Just waited for the challenge to come, and Entrop did not disappoint. Thompson again with the free kick for Moreton Bay United. Dickinson plays it straight back to Thompson. Yanovsky goes down and then gets the better of Hiroki Omori. Delivers across towards the back post. The only person waiting at the back post was Knight, but Sekou Jamandi gets there as well. Played 60 minutes for Moreton Bay's youth team in their 1-1 draw against Brisbane City last week. That was the first points that Brisbane City have dropped, their youth team. Dropped more points, their senior team that is, today. Up in Toowoomba, they fell to a 2-1 defeat, their second defeat in succession. Chase on for Entrop. Well kept in there by Sekou Jamandi. Looks back to full fitness now. Played once again behind the run of Hiroki Omori, but good battling from Jack Stevens on Darren Thompson. Not utilised the pace and running ability of Hiroki Omori, have Brisbane strikers. More results around the grounds, or soon to be results. Gold Coast United, well, they've lost to Redlands United. 5-1 the score there in time added on at the end of the second half. Lions still lead Olympic by a 1-0. Pride 2-0 up against North Queensland United at half time. And the earlier results, Magpies Crusaders 2-0 victors over Sunshine Coast at Kawana. And South West Queensland Thunder beat Brisbane City by 2-1 as we just mentioned. Here's Declan Smith. We're in time added on at the end of this one now as Sam Dickinson chases with Hiroki Omori. He'll get there, the Moreton Bay man will. And he'll try and play this ball in. Gee, that looked like it had gone out. Now the decision has been made that it did go out by Meesup Park. Omori plays it to Lee and then plays it neatly to Stevens. Strikers playing out from the back. And then Tana Entrop lets that one just roll under his foot. Rhys Gwyn-Jones complains of a shoulder complaint and says he can't take throw-ins, which is convenient, seeing as he was the closest Moreton Bay United player to the ball. And they'll be taking their time, Moreton Bay now, who've offered nothing really in this second half other than the goal against the 10 men of Brisbane strikers. Stevens did concede a foul on Thompson, but Casey rebound allowed. Play to continue. Here's the substitute, Sekou Jamandi. Over on that far side, he's about to be contested by Trent Clulo. Throw into Moreton Bay United. Time continues to tick away. And Brisbane strikers facing a third straight defeat. They've lost points against just 3 teams this year, Brisbane strikers. Western Pride, Lions, and now Moreton Bay United, who they drew 2-2 with. And that really kick-started their season. They went on a 9... I've heard the call for a card by David Large for the apparent time wasting. As Sekou Jamandi has no more room to operate, but does incredibly well. Is he going to get a shot away? Hits the side netting. Strikers want to get things back underway quickly. Sekou Jamandi just showing a brief glimpse of what he can do now that he's back to full fitness after that knee injury suffered back in mid-April. But here comes strikers. Is this going to be the last opportunity for Sam Knight? Almost let that ball get away from him. Here's Hiroki Omori now. Can he keep it in? Finally, strikers use the space available to them on this near side. You might be hearing the comments of David Large directed towards Meesup Park of the Total Tools refereeing team, inquiring why there are only 2 minutes of added time, but that 2 minutes is a promising position as strikers were in. That is the final whistle, and where do Brisbane strikers go from here? That's their third straight 1-0 defeat here in the National Premier League Queensland. They were of course knocked out the FFA Cup midweek against Peninsula Power by 3-0. And as for Moreton Bay United, well, they will retain their spot in third, but close the gap potentially on Olympic, who are trailing Lions by 1-0 at Lions Stadium prior to winning at North Queensland by 2-0. So you can't see, based on form, North Queensland getting anything from that one. But Strikers, they'll stay in fifth. Brisbane City losing up on the range to remain 6 points behind Brisbane Strikers, but their record of 13 successive finals series across the Brisbane Premier League, Queensland State League and the National Premier Leagues are under serious threat now as the top four of Olympic, Pride, Moreton Bay United and Lions look to break away. It's going to be a fascinating remainder of the season to see if Strikers can get something of it. They're up on the range themselves next week against the South West Queensland Thunder, who are on a 3-game winning streak themselves, before travelling to go and visit their former coach Sean Lane. A couple of tough tests before welcoming Cairns to Perry Park in 4 weeks' time. That's just about it from us here at Walter Park. Thank you so much for joining us here for this National Premier League's Queensland Clash, the second game in a row that we've done in the live stream here for Moreton Bay United. Don't forget, tomorrow Darren Lutton will be taking you through Gold Coast United against Lions in the National Premier League's Women's Clash from Station Reserve in Robina. 5 o'clock is the kick-off time for that one, and then on Tuesday night, join Rafe Griffin as he brings you all the FFA Cup action between Logan Lightning and Brisbane Strikers as they contest their 6th round qualification tie to win the right to host Olympic in the 7th qualification round. Thanks for joining us. I've been Simon Smale. This has been a Double Take Productions for Football Queensland. We hope you join us next week when we bring you the next live stream game from the National Premier League's Queensland. Thanks very much and good night.